within the week. Okay, so good morning once again, and I'm very happy. Currently, we are 26. There are 26 of you nga naka-join sa atong session this morning. Okay, so welcome to the very first topic of basic of EE 101, Electrical Circuits 1. Okay, so for this session, this is not really very new to you since we will just be reviewing some of the basic principles and some of the basic concept that we will be encountering and we will be using all throughout all throughout the discussions for this subject. Okay, so the topic for this afternoon would then be on basic components and electrical circuits. In studying electricity, there are some recurring concepts or terminologies that we will be encountering. Okay, such as we have here the currents. We also have voltages and powers. So these three parameters are the very common terminologies and unknowns that we need to find in some of the problems that we will be encountering in EE 101. Okay, so currents, voltages, and powers. These terms are, I hope, dili na siya bago sa inyo because you also have your basic installation, if I am not mistaken. And aside from that, these terminologies are very common in physics, even in chemistry. But in this subject, we will be studying more into the applications and how to find these parameters. And for us to be able to understand let me zoom in this, okay, for you to be able to see it clearly. Okay? Okay na sa inyo, inganiyon lang na ako ang pag-present sa atong klase. Okay, para mas detailed siya and
Yes, sir.
okay ra. And I think PowerPoint presentation is good, but kung ano siya, no, it's very minimal. The information that you can present in a PowerPoint presentation is very minimal. So I want to go into the deeper into that. So I would like to present to you as much as information that I could give, but I am also planning to provide you some PowerPoint presentations, even videos. Kay I realized that the recording is too much, right? I-download ninyo siya kung di mo maka-attend the storage and the amount of data that will require you to download the file would be very expensive on your end. So that is why I would try to do my best to provide you some alternatives so that dili isad siya bugad sa inyong aside. Okay? So before anything else, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Basig madungog ninyo ang electric fan nga dool sa ako, dili ra ba? Anyone?
Dili man, sir.
Seven, sir.
Dili ra annoying?
Dili.
Okay ra? Okay, very good. Okay, so let's continue. Anyways, along our discussion, feel free to interrupt me kung namoy question. Mas okay lang while discussing the topic. If you have any concerns or any questions regarding the topic, then feel free to interrupt me. You could just, I think you can just raise your hand here para dili sad ko maglibog kung kinsa ang nauna. Okay? So feel free to have more interactions in our discussion. Okay. So moving forward, in order for us to appreciate the nature and how to the behavior of circuits, of electrical circuits, we also need to familiarize ourselves with the basic components, such as we have here resistors. Okay, dili na siya bago sa inyo. Okay, we also have some batteries, okay, batteries, voltage, and current sources. So mainly those will be the very basic components that we will be discussing in this chapter and in the next chapters. But later in this subject, we will be also discussing with some advanced, not really advanced, but other than resistors, we will also be dealing with inductors and capacitors as well. Okay. Okay. So let's. I think we don't really have to discuss more into the units and scales, since very elementary naman ni siya. We have been dealing with units and scales from our physics, basic physics, chemistry, mathematics. So exist na ni siya. But just to recall, whenever there would be some measurable quantity. Okay, so whenever there would be some measurable quantity, we need to describe it in terms of the number and a unit. Okay, so say for example, 3 meters. We have the number and we have the unit. So the unit is really very important because it will avoid confusions on your end and on my end as well whenever we would be discussing or solving some problems. So say for example, if you won't be putting some units, like you would say 3, wala siya unit. So it could be 3 kilometers or it could be 3 meters. So the importance of a unit is really necessary. Okay, you have to indicate the unit for us to be able to understand what is the exact quantity that you are referring to. So in terms of the electrical components, we could say later we would be able to appreciate this one, but this is not new to you. So say for example, we have here, oops, okay, so say for example, we have here, we have our resistors. Okay, so if we are going to describe some resistors, so we could do that by 3 ohms. Okay, 3 ohms perhaps. You could also have 1 ohm. Okay, so you need to indicate the unit and the number. So we have the number here and we have the unit here. Okay, so this is the symbol for ohms. Okay, so that's the importance of units and scales. So basically, in describing our lessons, we basically use the SI unit or the International System of Units for the parameters that we will be discussing. But then again, SI unit is not the only one existing in the parameters that we will be discussing. Like say for example, we also have other parameters that should be expressed in other system of units. Okay, so but basically, if we are going to use the SI unit or the international unit for length, we have here meter, then the symbol would then be M. So all of these things are not really new to you. So just be familiar, make yourself familiar, familiarize all of this basic quantity so that dili na kababaguhan in terms of using the quantities in practical application. So get yourself familiarized with all of these terms. So you have the length, meters, mass. You also have the kilogram, or symbol for that would be kg. Okay, so all of these things are very fundamentals to you. Okay, now let's go to the world of electricity. So the fundamental unit of work or energy is joule. Okay, so we have this one, joule. And 1 joule is equivalent to kilograms times meters per second squared. And that would be in SI unit. Okay, so anyone of you here, unsay atong makita dira sa kuan, then the unit of power is watt. Okay, so watt ang sa power, then the fundamental unit of work or energy is joule. So my question would then be, unsa ang parameter nga atong gakakita sa atong mga kuan, mga bill, sa electricity bill nato, unsa na siya nga parameter? Is it energy or is it power? Anyone?
Power.
Unsa at power?
Power,
Okay,
sir.
so some say power, na ay mo ingon nga energy.
Energy.
Energy nga na-consume.
Energy. Unsa may final ano to nga answer
Power,
ana?
power.
Power or energy? Kana makita
Energy.
nato. Kanang butangag price. Pila man kanang bayron ninyo. So, say
Power.
for example, inyong bill kay kuan 3,000. Kay unsa man ang 3,000? Does it represent the power or the energy?
Power, sir.
Power
Energy
na
Okay,
na-consume.
so at least no, you have your individual answers, but in terms of the payment that you will be paying to, say for example in Eneco, that is not power. Okay, so energy na siya. Why? It is the amount of power being used in a particular time. So say for example, nagamit mo og electric fan. Okay, naatay electric fan nga wattage, di ba? So say for example, ano niya, example na siya, naatay 100 watts sa electric fan. Okay, which is too much na siya, okay? But given lang, no, para medyo fixed lang siya. Naatay 100 watts for, di naman to siya i-label for a particular appliance. Naatay 100 watts. Okay, so pila man nato siya ka oras gamiton? Okay, di ba? Mo man na atong bayaran kung pila ka oras na to siya gamiton. So, naatay 100 watts, then i-times na to siya pila ka number of hours nga atong gigamit, so mo din na siya atong bayaran. So, dili na siya power. It's the energy being consumed by the appliance. But then again, naayo power nga label ang atong appliance kay mo man na iyang gina-consume. Okay? But if we will be able to pay how much we consumed in a particular period of time, so that would then be the energy. That is not the power. Okay, so kung i-times nato na siya 100 times 6 hours, natay 600 watts. Watts are or watt hour, okay, di ba? Kay ana man na siya, ato isulat para di mo maglibog. So say for example, naatay I hope nakasunod ra mo. Kasunod ra?
Yes, sir.
sir.
Okay, so naatay 100, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Atong gi-discuss ganina kay naatay 100 watts. Okay. Naatay 100 watts. Okay, W di ba ang symbol sa watts? Okay, so naatay 100 watts. Okay. So naatay 100 watts, ato siyang i-times, di ba? Anak man ko, this is your unsa ni siyang 100 watts? Power energy.
Power.
Anyone? Okay, power. Klaro kay diri o. Okay ha? Naata diri, the unit of power is watt. So naatay 100 watt, mao ni siya ang power. Okay, kasabot ana. Sabot ha. Your 100 watts here is your power. So kung ang particular appliance nga 100 watts atong gigamit for, say 6 hours. Okay? So mauna din ni siya ang 600 watt hour. Okay, so muna din ni siya ang imong energy. So kung nato ginaon sa mala pag bill nato, naana siya, say for example, naatay 8 pesos per hour. Okay, di ba? So ato din siyang i-multiply, so naada tay 8 pesos per watt hour. Okay. Watt hour. Okay? So kung ato siya i-multiply, pila ka number of hours, watt hour nga imong na-consume, so naada kay amount nga pesos nga bayron nun. Okay, sa pila man na for 4,800. Okay, di ba mga ingana? Nakuha ninyo? So muna ang bayron nun. Okay, so nakuha ninyo ang concept sa energy and power. Klaro? Klaro guys or dili?
Klaro, sir. Klaro.
Okay. So, by the way, kung naamoy makita ang mistake sa akong pag-discuss, feel free to correct me ha, wala na siya problema. Okay, so dili ko okay rin kina sa ako kay aside from that, I also have namagod ko some agenda po sa kinabuhi, no? So, I might not be able to recall everything kay mag-mix-mix na ang mga trabahoon. So, I might not be able to recall everything. So, feel free to correct me whenever namoy manotice nga sayop nga akong i-discuss, wala na siya problema sa ako. And I would be very happy and grateful kung makorrect ninyo ang akong sayop nga na-discuss. Okay? So, dili magol ha, kung naatay makita nga sayop kung i-discuss ni sir, or after sa discussion, naamoy ma-notice while reading the materials that I will be providing to you and while watching some YouTube videos to clarify things out, then feel free to message me nga, sir, kanang murag na kay something wrong sa pag-discuss. This should be the right thing to say, or this should be the right unit, say for example, or the right process to solve this particular problem. Okay, so I will be very happy kung inyo nang buhaton, and no harm, no harmful things being done to me. Wala na siya problema. It's very normal. Dili man perfect ang teachers. Okay, but don't be so rude lang po siguro, no, to in approaching your concerns. Wala na siya problema. Okay, so now going back to our discussion here. So there are also some prefixes that we need to familiarize in studying electrical circuits, like in describing your resistance. In describing your resistance na atay ohms, diba? It could be in kilo ohms, mega ohms, or just ohms. So natay mga prefixes nga dapat i-familiarize. Okay, so feel free to review everything here. Okay, kay murag no gikan sa sugod pa lang, high school pa na naman ni siya. So ato lang siyang i-run through. So you have your prefixes, you have your units, you have your scales to review, and then you're good to proceed to the other chapter. Okay, so moro to siya for the example about the units and scales. So let's try to do some practice problems for 2.1. Okay, so a krypton fluoride laser emits light at a wavelength of 248 nanometers. This is the same as asa manana for 2.1. Unsay the same nga answer, 248 nanometers. Unsa daw iyang equivalent? Okay, try to evaluate. Is it the same with letter A?
C.
Say answer sa 2.1. And also, if you have your calculators with you at home, try to make use of it and some extra papers para po ma-practice nato atong mga kaugalingon in trying to solve the practice problems para mas makasabay ta. Mas okay man ang makasabay ta while the discussion is ongoing para mas klaro sa ato kung giun sa pag-solve. Okay, so for 2.1, ano sa answer sa 2.1? Anyone?
A.
Ano sa answer?
A, sir.
A, sir.
A?
A.
Ano man? So 248. Kung A ang answer, so let's examine. Kung A, pwede ba niya siya? Kalilang class ha? I'm not sure kung pwede. Create a note or pwede ba? Okay, pwede na siya. So let's move here. Okay, so kung A daw, okay, A, naatay 0.0248 millimeters. So, ato siya i-convert to nm. Nano. Pila man ang nano? Negative?
9.
Negative 9. Ang 6, negative 6?
Micro.
Micro. Very good. Okay? So, ato siyang i-move into, i-move, di ba ito siya 248? So, kung i-move na ito siya 248, kani siya, mahimo siyang 1, 2, 3, 4. So, 248, tama ba? Ma-move siya og 4. To the right, to the left, not ay to the right siya gi-move. So, mugamay ang unit diri. Nano ba? Dili no. Kaya di ba kaning 248 times 10 to the power of negative 9 man na meters. Kung man yung pasabot, di ba? So, kung i-convert na to siya into meters tanan, nag-move to og 1, 2, 3, 4. So, 10 to the power of negative 3 plus 4 pa yun. So, negative 7 ra siya. Tama ba ko?
Oo, sir.
So, tama ang letter A or dili? Anyone?
Dili, sir.
Dili, okay, dili tama ang A. So, let's proceed to B. Okay. Sa ang B,
Letter 6.
248 micrometers. Unsa may equivalent ana niya kung i-convert na to meters? 2.48 to 248. Unsa man? Ato siya himong 248 times 10 to the power of negative 9. Nakasabay ang uban? So, himuon na to siya, 240. Walay decimal places ang numerical coefficient na to. So, ang letter B, unsaon man na to ni? Himo siyang 2.48. Ito siyang i-convert to meters. Himo siyang times 10 to the power of negative 6 meters. Kay micro, di ba? Nakuha na to. So, kung ingani na siya, i-convert na to siya into 248. 248 times 10 to the power of pila man? Pila. Okay, this is just basic conversion. I-convert nato na siya to meters, ang 2.48 times 10 to the power of negative 6. Mahimo siyang 248 times 10 to the power of pila exponent? Uy,
8 man siguro, sir. Negative 8. Negative 8 po, sir.
negative 8. Yanong siguro man? Dili sure?
Kulang
Or
lakas
sure
ng
nga
loob,
negative
sir.
8? Okay, sa negative 8. Bawal na mag-kuan ha. Ano, dapat kung mag-answer ka kuan, no? Kulabaw na kung mga electrical ta, bawal ta mag tagna og values. Kay nga naman, once masayop ka, unsay resulta ko masayop ka.
Kurintihan.
O di ba? Masking nasayop lang ka og convert ana pila dako na kaayo ng negative, di ba? Say for example, ningon ka nga 60 volts ra. Sir, ang akong calculation kay 60 volts. Or let's go to 12 volts. Sir, 12 volts ra ang akong answer, sir. Unya ka, ang tinuod di ay nga answer ka, 1,200. O di ba niya, in real life, nasayop kag convert, niingon ka, ay, safe raman dahil ni gunitan kay 12 volts raman. Agoy ka, ang tinuod di ay kay nasayop man dahil pag-convert sa kuan. Sa given. Sa final answer, nasayop og evaluate. Na, 1,200 volts di ay. O, di ba? Nakita ninyo ang importance that the importance of being accurate in electrical engineering. Di ba? Dili siya dapat pasagdaan ang conversion. Okay? Nakuha ninyo? So, please be careful. So, 248 times 10 to the power of negative 8 meters. Same ba, ani? Sa atong goal nga 248?
No, sir. No, sir.
Dili. Okay, so let's proceed to,
Letter C, sir, answer.
let's proceed. Letter C ang answer. So, let's evaluate letter C. So, we have here,
248 times 10 negative 3 equals 0.248.
unsa to? Micrometer. Kani siya. Pila man ni initially? 0.248 times 10 to the power of, pila man ang micro? Pila exponent sa micro?
Negative 3.
6, sir. Negative
Negative
6.
3? Negative?
Negative 6.
6, sir.
Micro, negative 6. Negative
Okay,
6.
so this should be 248 times 10 to the power of negative 6. Makita niyo kung ginasulat, class?
Negative 3, sir.
Negative
6.
3 ang micro?
Milli man ang 3.
Sabi,
Milli ang
Negative
3.
milli, di ba ang 3?
Yes, sir.
So,
Milli
milli,
ba siya?
kuha ng mm,
6,
that's 10
negative
to the power of negative 3 meters. Kung micro, we have here, times 10 to the power of negative 6. Makita ninyo kung ginasulat, class?
Visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Visible
Yes, sir.
ra? Okay. So, okay ra ta maging mag-discuss? Makasabay ra mo?
Okay ra, sir.
Okay. So, we have here 0.248 times 10 to the power of negative 6 meters. Okay, so if we are going to convert this to 248, para wala daw decimal places atong constant, atong numerical coefficient, as per given man, no, para ato siyang ma-compare. So we have here, pila ka decimal places ato siya i-move? 1, 2, 3. To the right. So, dapat negative atong idugang sa atong exponent. We have here 248 times 10 to the power of negative pila?
9.
Negative 9 meters. So that is why the answer is letter C. Okay? Ang 248 nanometers is equivalent to 0.248 micrometer. Okay? So please be careful in your conversion. Okay, that is really very important sa atong profession. We need to be very accurate. Kay kung masayop ganita, it's a very dangerous thing nga mahitabo. It could lead to accidents such as fire, no, or could even fatal. Okay, so medyo delikado gid siya. Okay, so ana na siya. I actually had this experience during my undergrad. Okay, I was initially an electronics engineering student. So ang mga voltages or ang mga current nga gina-deal manggod sa electronics kay 1 volt, 0.9 volt, okay? So we also have 0.3 volt, ayan bitaw kagagmay, like very minimal gud ang among current kay 10 microamps. Imagine 10 microamps, okay? Naapod may mga 30 microamps, nga nakagagmay, like very very minimal gud kay among current and voltage kay in electronics lang gud pagamayay, di ba? You have to make your system very small in such a way that it is power efficient. So gamay ra siyang power nga i-consume. So if we would say gamay nga power i-consume, which will then be appreciated in our next nga mga chapters nga ato i-discuss. So when we say power efficient siya, it would mean nga gamay ang power nga i-consume sa imong device or sa part sa imong device. When we say gamay og power, it would imply gamay kag voltage o gamay kag current. However, upon enrolling myself to electrical engineering, which is very related sila sa electronics engineering, but in terms of the parameter that we are dealing in electrical engineering, it's very opposite. Okay, sa electrical engineering is kung magkadako ang population sa isa ka community, it means that you have to provide large amount of power for them to have a large amount of energy to be consumed, di ba? So dapat dako atong power nga i-transmit from one place to another para ma-utilize siya sa tibuok community. So that's the difference. Though the same parameter, like you will be dealing with voltage, with current, with power, but then again, the amount of the quantity, how large it is very different. So in electrical engineering, it could be into kiloamperes, megavolts, so very very large quantity, which is very different. So there was that time, that was actually our first board work sa amo teacher, no. So I'll just have to reiterate this to you for you to be able to appreciate kung unsa ang importance sa ating mga units. So there was that time during my undergrad. So that was the very first time I enrolled myself in electrical engineering. And our professor called me to solve sa board, scissors, and solve ko sa board. And then ang akong answer is 1 ampere. Imagine 1 ampere, diba? Then electronics man ko adto, so dakuan na kahayo ko og 1 ampere. Kaya mo biyang ginagamit rabaya kay 10 microamps. So that means 10 to the power of -6 amperes. Ing ana ra kagamay among ginagamit. So pag answer na ko 1 ampere, dakuan kayo ko. So ang among teacher, okay, so confident ko sa answer, okay mo ni tama na ning 1 ampere. So tingala ko kay ang akong mga classmates kay nangatawa sila. Og ang ako pong teacher kay murag na-shock sila nganong ang ako answer kay very gamay daw, which is para sa ako dako naman ang 1 ampere sa ilan kay gamay kayo ang 1 ampere. Nakita niyo guys, though the same concept, no, but we are dealing into large amount of power, large amount of voltages, large amount of current. That is why you have to be very careful in terms of using the units and the numerical coefficient of your within your calculation. So na siya importance. Okay? Oh, murag nag-black ang screen, dili niyo makita. Nawala.
Black, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wala, sir.
Siya ni balik. Okay, so mo na siya, no? So you have to be very careful with your calculations. Wala pa gyapon ni balik. Okay, so maybe I'll have to reshare it again. Okay. Any questions, class, before tamo proceed? While me fixing the fixing the presentation here. Okay, Nana. Okay, so for number 2, okay, the same concept. So you'll just have to apply. Okay, na question si Darius. Acknowledge.
Wala, sir. Kaning number,
Question si
letter D. Wala man kaya letter D lang ako ang answer kung ba. Pwede lang, sir ba? Letter D ang answer. Letter D ang answer, sir.
sa
Number 2.
letters 2.2. Okay, letter
yes,
D ang answer
letter
ani. Okay, letter D, which is 2. Letter D 2. Pila man na siya?
12,000, sir.
Say,
Nano.
2.2, sir.
12. 12,000 nanoseconds. Tama ba ko?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the same concept for 2.2, then feel free to solve as well sa ato 2.3. So ano ka bala ka if you all of the information that we are discussing right now are available sa inyong notes na akong gisend sa atong Google Classroom. Okay, so I don't want to send the entire PDF kay bawal na siya. So ato na siya tagi-tagihon no kay under fair use pwede pala to siya ma-justify kay ato siyang give per chapter. So in each session I will just and also I will be mixing it with other references as well. So mo na siya hindi lang nako siya itibo og hatag ang PDF and you don't also know kung unsa ang topics for the next weeks to come. So isa-isahon lang nako siya upload. But then again, I will try to give it in advance. Na-late na sa atong discussion kay medyo nagka-aberya mi sa department. Nami workmate nga nag-positive sa COVID. So we need to do some safety measures and I need to isolate myself as well kay direct contact man ko. So that is why medyo na-delayed ta. But everyone is okay. So we can now continue our discussion. Okay? So nagpa-music na si Emil June. Murag na board na ni siya. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay. So after discussing the scales and some of the important parts of any measurements in electrical engineering, we need to discuss and review some of the very basic details that we need to understand before going to the complicated problems in engineering in solving electrical circuits. So we need to review some of the basic terminologies and some of the basic concepts that is really very essential in understanding the complicated ones. Okay, so for this morning, let's engage in discussing the charge, current, voltage, and power, and their relationship to one another. Okay, sana all na relationship, no? Charge, joke na bitaw, guys. Okay, so we need to understand the relationship of charge, current, voltage, and power. Saying ano na siya. But before that, now I did not say this is really a very common question sa engineering kung unsa ba daw ang makapatay ang kuan ba daw ang current ba daw or ang voltage. So sige daw B from your nakadungog ko nga gi-explain ni siya ni Sir Menyoza sa inyo. So I want to hear from any one of you kung unsa inyong point of view towards that. So kung makurintihan ang tao, unsa daw ang makapatay sa iya? Is it the voltage or is it the current? Sige daw. Okay, so anyone? I need some volunteers to share your point of views. Kinsa may gusto mo share?
I think the voltage.
Na si Hanaya ba ning nag-istorya? Kasi si Hanaya sa din si RD ikipilag dayon sunod. Kasi si Hanaya daw bin si Hanaya.
Okay, sir.
Lalaki ni si Hanaya. Babae?
Lalaki, sir.
Ay, lalaki. Sige daw. Hanaya, unsay mong point of view adtong question nga ing adto?
I think the voltage kay sa akong nalumduman mo ingon si Sir Menyoza nga murag something logic lang ana siya nga wala nag-ingon nga high current murag nag-beware daw tungod kay high voltage.
Okay, so very 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 nice nga explanation pud, no? Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Hanaya. Si Ikipalag daw, Ikipilag.
Para sa energy, not the voltage nor the
energy.
current.
Sige, lahi pod iyang trip no, energy pod, sige daw. Ano man?
Nakabasa ko.
nakabasa ra ka. Wala imong ibantay ano sa imong nabasahan, ano sa reason behind nganong energy imong nakuan.
Nakalimot na ka. Nakalimot na kasi.
Nakalimot ka. Basta energy,
pero-
no? Well, at
oo,
least, no, I
pero-
do appreciate your participation, Mr. Erdy. Okay, naamoy babae nga classmate para ato pong paistoryahon? Wala?
Voltage, sir.
Karen, sir, Karen.
Si...
Karen, sir.
Sige, kitsa, na, sige na. Sige na, dahil napatay time, no? Di mag-uol. Ato paistoryahon si Emil June. Sige daw, B. Si Emil June daw, B. Kaya nakakita ko na istorya si Emil June. Sa imong point of view, Emil June.
Voltage, sir, kay kuana sa high resistant of electric current, sir. Atong body.
Okay, no voltage po daw kay Emil June, then according sa iya kay taas sa to high resistance sa electric current ang atong
Electric
lawas,
current.
tama ba or mali akong pagdungog?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice no. Na babae ninyo ang classmate ko si Patricia. Sige daw, Patricia daw, B. Sige daw, Patricia, your point of view, share it to your classmates. Ano naman ni siya? Wala lang siya ni tingog. Patricia, acknowledge? Pwede na ka ba istorya? No, wala na po. Yan na pong gidown iyang kaan. Okay, si Yunson. How about si Yunson?
Current ang answer, sir. Okay. Ang current is mo man ang source sa energy, then ang voltage mo ang measure sa energy.
Okay, po na to iya. No, so current daw ang answer. Sa to, sorry, wala ako na-gets nga nung current. Current ang answer kay...
Mo man ang concept sa kanang source sa energy, sir, then ang voltage mo man na siya ang measure sa energy.
Okay, sige. Medyo naglibog ko basta mo to yung answer. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. How about si Joshua?
Sir,
Sige daw,
ang
Joshua.
sa kuan,
Acknowledge Joshua.
current ug sa voltage. Para ra na sila, sir, magdepende ra kung sa kadako ng current ug voltage. Kay para sa man daw na sila mga kuan, cause og electric shock.
So, unsa answer nimo adto?
Both,
So, say
both,
final,
sir,
unsa
kay
answer nimo? Both.
both para sa kuha, sir,
Kay?
both ra.
Nga
Kuan,
naman.
magdepende ra, sir, kung unsa kadako ng current ug ang voltage. Kay kung dako pog current, maka kuryente man gyapon, tas kung voltage pod, kung dako pog voltage, kuryente gyapon, sir.
Okay, so according to Mr. Joshua, kay both daw ang current daw voltage. Okay, anyone na pa? Ato ni i-down ang hand ni Joseph kay murag human naman ni siya, no? Si Patricia, ni balik na si Patricia. Sige, Patricia. Wala na po siya. Si Jester John daw, si Jester John daw. Unsay mong point of view, ana?
Kanang kuan gyapon, sir. Kibali kana sila interrelated gyapon sila kay as we all know, sir, if gamay ang voltage, makuryente gyapon ta pero di ta mamatay, okay? So mao na or ang current po dili po siya dangerous basta dili ta ma-in contact. For example, kanang wire, di ba insulated siya mo na di ta makuryente. So safe gyapon siya. So dapat interrelated sila kay kung ang voltage dako, so mas kusog sa current ang mahatag niya sa imong lawas mo na matay ka. For example, makurentehan ka, for example, kanang 1,000 volts, no? Kung gusto na siya mag-suicide. So dako sa current ang mausulod sa imong lawas mo na ang imong muscle mga luto or ma-stop ang imong heart. So para na ako, sir, interrelated sila. Pero if kuan na jud, sir, if kanang mo patay jud sa imong lawas alone, so ang current ang saktong answer. Para na ako. Thank you, sir.
Current ang saktong answer. Okay, so I think we have heard a lot, no? Na si Patricia kay current, sir, kay mo igadala sa electrical charge daw. Yan. So I at least know, I'm very happy and very positive that you do. By the way, class, is it BSEE ang mga naka-enroll diri or EET? Or mix? Anyone? Katong mga sa man? EE mo or EET?
AE, sir.
EE, okay. Okay, so I'm very happy nga namo yung mga point of views, no, and I'm actually not really particular kung tama ba or mali yung answer. I just want to experience. I just want you to experience on how to express your ideas and your opinion on regarding a particular question. Kay dili gid ko magmatter kung tama ang or mali imong gi-answer kay mo ganing nata diri di ba is it's for us to learn. And you will be learning from me and I will be learning from you as well. So wala na siya that is why if every time whenever I will have a question to you, I'm not really expecting tama inyong itubag or mali inyong itubag. I just want to hear your opinion and for you to be able to practice on how to construct your ideas and how to answer a particular question. So mura na siya importante, no? So whenever na ipanguta na si sir, don't be afraid to share your answers and don't be afraid to answer the question even if you're not really sure on your ideas. That is why we are here to learn the things that we should learn. Ana lang na siya. Okay, but I just want you to know nga, if ever you have some answers, feel free to kanatang na kay basis. Ayaw lang tagna lang. Kung feeling na ko sir kay kanira, and the name siya. So you have to, sir, I think sir the answer is 3 ohms because this is how I get that. Or sir, for me sir, the answer would be voltage because according to blah 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 ano na siya. Okay? So ingana lang. Ayaw ka goal kung mali or tama siya. Okay, so going back to that question, I have read a lot of answers to that, but the most catchy explanation that I've got was to refer it to a kanang bitaw, for example na ay tao nga gipusil class. Kanila ang analogy, very simple. Kung naay tao nga gipusil, nganong namatay ang tao nga gipusil? Okay, so let's go back to that analogy. Ang di ba, ang pusil is na siya bala. Okay, so ang pusil will represent the voltage, ang bala would then represent the current. Okay, so kung namatay ang tao nga gipusil, unsay nakapatay sa iya? Ang bullet alone, makapatay ba ang bullet alone nga wala kay pusil?
Dili, sir.
Dili, di ba? How about ang pusil nga walay bala, makapatay ba siya?
Dili po.
Dili po, di ba?
Depende sir, for example kanang
So,
makulbaan ng
sige man, kung
makulbaan
Ano to?
ng imong cancer, ma-heart attack siya sir. For example, kita siya pusil nimo niya, mo hindi to bala, heart attack siya.
Alay na po na siya nga aspect, no? Ma-charge na yung
sorry, sir.
phone nyo kay heart attack. But it's good. Okay, so kato lang siyang basic analogy ana. The bullet alone kay dili siya makapatay kung walay pusil. The voltage alone kay dili siya makapatay kung wala siya bala. So you need both to perform its task. Dili kay patgod ang tao ha. You need the voltage and current to produce a useful electricity. So ingana na siya. Okay? So nakuha na yung answer. So you need both. You need the voltage. Then nakuha na yung idea. So much
Yes,
with the discussion kung I'm sorry ha kung ni-contradict ko kay Sir. Tama ba? Kung dili mi parehag answer ni Sir Minyosa? Or parehami? Isa yung ma-remember.
Dili, sir.
Dili. Okay, so lahi mo reference, no? But I've also read some books nga na ilang analogy, but for me, mo siya ang best nga sa akong mga nabasa. I think this is the best explanation ani nga question kay the bullet alone is not really deadly. Ang pusil po dili po siya deadly kung wala siya bullet. So same with the voltage alone is not deadly. Current alone is not deadly kung wala ang voltage. Kaya nga naman, say for example, plus, kabantay mo nang makurintihan mo mugunit o kanang doorknob, na nakatry na ninyo na nigulit mo doorknob kay nakurintihan mo? Anyone? Na nakatry ana? Wala pa mo ka-try?
Channel sir sa switch.
Like,
Katry man, sir.
ayaw lang po nang sa switch, katulad sa doorknob ka nang, di ba? Pero, buhi pa mo. Kabalo ba mo nga that the voltage there is thousands of voltages ang kuan ana niya, ang measurement. So imagine, taas kina nga voltage. Pero nga nang wala man mo namatay, tungod kay
Walay
limited
ka.
ang
Indirect.
number. Oo, yes. The current is very low. Tungod kay gamay ra pud ang mga charges. Gamay ra magitong mga charges nga na-accumulate adto, mga static charges tungod sa carpet nga ni-jump sa inyo or sa inyong gigunitan baka nga plastic nga yan nga ni-jump sa inyo na yung mga electrons nga ni store sa imong kamot, then paggunit nimo dito sa knob kay that's a very big and very large amount of voltage, but then again gamay ra ang charge, so munang gamay ra kayo na feel dili siya deadly. So you need both. Di pa siya pasabot nga dako imong voltage kay dako na din imong current. There are also parameters that one should consider kung kuan. One should consider nga para makaproduce ka og taas pod nga current. So naay dapat enough amount of charge in your system. So mo na siya ang analogy class. You need the voltage, the current, and we could also consider sa charge kay dili man na makaproduce og taas nga current. Barag taas kay mong voltage, dili ka makaproduce og current kung limited ra imong number of charges. Muna ang example ana is kanang makurintihan ka sa doorknob. Okay? Taas kay na siya nga voltage. Pero dili siya deadly kay gamay ra man kayo ka og charge. So gamay ra ang current nga. Ang current and charge is very similar to each other. Okay? Ano na siya. So gamay ra ang current nga ni flow kay gamay ra ka og charge sa imong system. So mo na siya. You need both to produce a useful electricity para pod magamit siya. Okay, so voltage alone is not enough, current alone is not enough. You need both. Okay, so I hope na amoy na learn ana nga explanation. Okay, so let's start with the concept of charge. Any questions before we discuss the concept of charge? None. Okay, so one of the most fundamental, or wala? Wala na to see. May confirm na to siya. Okay, so one of the most important concepts in electrical engineering is the charge conservation. Okay. So if we are going to recall, there are two types of charge from our basic physics. We have the positive, which is known as proton, and we also have the negative, which is the electron, which is very fundamentals in physics, very easy, di ba? So we have these two types of charges, and these are also very common in electric circuit. We will be dealing with a positive charge, and we will be dealing with a negative charge. We will be dealing with the proton, and we will be dealing with the electron. But since we are dealing with electricity, most of the time we are referring to the movements of unsa man, proton or electron? Anyone?
Proton.
Yes, electron.
Electricity. So, dul-dul ang electron, di ba? So, we will be dealing with the movements of electron. But take note, class. Before manggod, they are actually thinking ang positive charge ang nakaproduce of electricity. So their convention in solving some circuits before is na they are thinking ang proton ang nakaproduce ana. So muna ang convention nga ginabuhat. But it's pretty much the same with the concept kung electron ang nakaproduce. But ako lang siya i-highlight nga when we say about when we talk about electricity or current. So ang electron, movements of electron na siya. Okay, so the movements of electron will definitely produce the electricity. So mo lang na siya ang concept dira. And charge in motion, kung mag-move na ang atong mga charges, okay, mo na siya makaproduce ka og current. Mo na siya diri. Okay. Okay, so again, we have the positive, the negative. Then when we talk about electricity, we will be discussing the movements of electron and the electron as the charge particle. So kung mag-move po ang atong charge particle, which is the electron or charge in motion, it will produce current. Simple na naman sa atong simple na yan ang concept. So ato lang siya i-review gamay para dili ta para dili basig na nakalimot or naka-absent baka sa discussion. Then the fundamental unit of charge, we have here coulomb, okay, represented by letter C. Okay, so when we talk about unit of charge, it will be in coulomb. But kung mag-move na ang charge, so unsa gitawag adto? Kung mag-move na ang charge,
Current.
okay. So kung mag-move na ang charge, it will be labeled as current and the unit would then be in ampere. Okay, so we have some sort of charges nga dapat na to i-memorize here. So which is very common sa board exam, no? So the charge of a single electron, and a question say for example, the charge of a single electron is equal to, okay, you have here negative 1.602 times 10 to the power of negative 19 coulomb. And sa proton is positive lang siya. Positive 1.6 times 10, 1.602 times 10 to the power of negative 19 coulomb. Okay? So I think very elementary raman ni siya diri nga side. So dili na nato kay siya i-stress out. Okay? So i-review lang nato siya. Okay. So in for uniformity, okay, so please bear this in mind nga kung okay, so kung Q, which is capital Q or big letter Q, it means nga dili siya not time dependent. Okay, not time dependent. So when we say not time dependent, it means nga constant siya. Constant. Okay? Kung small letter Q or Q of T, it means that it is a function of time. So time dependent ni siya. Okay, time dependent. And it varies with time. Okay, so muna siya mga convention nga atong gamiton ha. Okay, so again, kung a big letter Q or capital Q, it means nga not time dependent siya. So constant siya with respect to time, dili siya change. But kung small letter Q or Q of T ba na siya, it would then be time dependent or the value varies with time. Okay, so mura ni siya diri ang pasabot niya. Okay, so we have already discussed the basic concept of current, which is transfer of charge. So kung mag-move atong charge or charge in motion, we would then be able to produce current. Okay. So what else here? I think we have already defined it here. Okay. So in terms of mathematically speaking, okay, so take note of this equation here. Okay, take note of this equation here. The I is equal to dq over dt. Okay, so kasi pasabot ani, it means that, di ba, ato ba siyang na-discuss ganina nga, your current is charge in motion or ang pag-change sa imong charge with respect sa time. So mao na siya, no? Let's go back sa atong basic calculus. Basic calculus na to, we have here the I is equal to dq over dt. So kani siya is nag-change atong charge, di ba? Charge in motion. Charge in motion, okay, with respect to time. Okay, so kung ato siyang i-express mathematically, ang katong concept ganina, it could then be in I is equal to dq over dt. So kung ato siyang i-relate into a graph, graphical representation, okay, so kung mo ni atong amount of charge nga mo ni, if we are going to graph our data, so kaning q of t, unsa ganing q of t gani, unsa ni nga parameter, unsay q, unsa ang q, voltage ba ang q? Anyone? Unsa ang q? O baka pwede na akong i-discuss. Unsa ang q? Di ko niyo madungog. Madungog ko niyo dili.
Madungog, sir.
Unsa ang q?
Electric charge.
Aha. Time daw ang q, dili time ang q. Ang q kay charge. Bago ba yan tagi-discuss, di ba? Charge ang q. So atong gi-graph kung ang charge versus time. Okay, charge versus time. So mo ni. Okay, so sa t equals to 0, 0 imong charge. Sa t is equal to 2 seconds, diri nga part, pila man? Sa diri nga part, na kay around negative 1.8 nga coulomb. Okay, so, and ano? Then, mo ni siya ang charge. So, kung gusto na ko i-graph ang current from this one, so kung buhaton, unsa ganito? Unsa ito sa mathematical representation ani niya? Unsay relationship sa charge sa current? Itong gi-discuss ni sir bago lang.
Time, sir.
Unsa to?
Time.
Unsa akong pagkuha sa
If
current kung given charge? Unsa to? Nyara unsa to? Change. Unsa to? Say pasabotan na. Unsa na nga equation? I-integrate ang charge, mao ba na? Integrate ba ang term?
Dili, sir.
Unsa man? Unsa man na? Uy, bago pa gani mo nagkuag calculus, unsa man na? I-integrate ang charge with respect to time. Okay. I-derive nga nun, di man mo tubag na derive raman ang answer. Okay. So kung nakay charge nga given, nakay graph nga charge nga ingani, imo siyang i-convert nimo siya into the current nga graph with respect to time, imo ra i-derive ang imong equation. Okay, so ang derivative ani niya mas dali siya wala man siya equation. Okay, so kung ang charge, ingani ang charge, ato siya i-derive, ay mo siyang ingani kung gusto tag current nga graph. So i-derive lang nato ang charge para makaproduce ta og current. Kuha? Nakuha na to? Okay, nakuha na to? Okay, so mura na siya ang important detail diri. Okay. Okay, so how to label your current? Okay, let's review. So if we are going to describe our current, dili enough nga I1 or dili enough nga symbol lang nga ingani. Okay? So dili siya enough nga kana lang. Nga I of 1 of T lang. Dili pod enough nga arrowhead lang. Okay? So dili enough nga I of T, dili pod enough nga arrowhead, dapat mag I think I have to do not disturb. Ayan. Okay. So dili enough nga na lang kay value ani ay na kay what's this one? Letter I to represent your current, dili pod enough nga arrowhead lang. You have to describe your current by your I of T, so which means sa kanini constant with time or time varying siya, mag-vary with respect to time kani nga current.
Vary with respect to time,
Mag-vary.
sir.
Okay, very good. Mag-vary with respect to time. So if we are going to describe our current, dapat na siya letter which is I1 of T, which means that vary siya with respect to time. Kaya ato pong makita nga sinusoidal siya, di ba? Sinusoidal vary with respect to time. Tama ba ko? So kung wa siya vary with respect to time, unsa day dapat ang nawong aning atong graph dere? Unsa dapat? Okay, so kung time varying siya,
Wala ba dapat curve, sir?
yes, wala dapat siya curve. Pero kung wala siya curve, unsa dapat iyang nawong? Dapat straight line lang. Okay, so kung straight line siya, unsa man day atong value sa I? Unsa ato pagsulat? Dili dapat small letter. Dapat okay, ana na siya. Then wala siya T. Okay? Independent man siya sa time. So inganaon lang to atong notation ha. So kung say for example sa charge, kung charge atong hisgutan, Q ra na siya or Q of T, so time dependent. Kung dili siya time dependent, dapat big letter Q. So same sa current, kung kuan siya, kung ano naman to? Same sa current, kung dili siya dependent sa time, dapat big letter Q siya. So kung di siya dependent sa time, dapat big letter Q siya. Pero kung dependent siya sa time, morning small letter Q. Okay? Sorry. So small letter Q siya. Okay, nako na to. So if you're going to describe our current, dapat na siya letter nga I1 of T, then dapat na apod siya arrowhead to describe nga dili padulong atong current. Then sinusoidal siya, which means that time varying siya. Okay, so I hope klaro sa inyo. Okay, so this one here. Okay. In the wire of figure 2.7, electrons are moving. Okay, take note of this example, class. This is very basic but very important. Okay, all throughout sa atong discussion, we will be following this notation and we will be following this concept kung mag-label ta o mag-analyze ta sa atong circuit. Okay, so in figure 2.4, in the wire of figure 2.7, electrons are moving left to right to create a current of 1 milliamps. Okay? So left to right, so from here padulong diri ana no. So ana from left to right daw. Muna ang movement sa atong take note ha electrons. Take note class nga electrons atong gihisgutan ani. Okay. So determine I1. Kani daw unsa daw value sa I1 nato. Okay. So let's go directly to the answer ha. I1 is negative 1 milliampere. Ngano man? Ngano man? Okay. So, di ba niingon si Sir ganina nga,
Electrons.
it is the electron nga mo produce of current. Di
Negative.
ba ni anak ko? Electron man ang mag-produce. Supposedly, kung electron ang mag-produce from left to right,
Negative.
tama man ang direction. So, dapat positive siya, di ba? Supposedly. Tama ba? Nakuha niyo akong idea? Di ba, electrons ang mag-produce sa current. So, kung ang electrons padulong from left to right, so dapat maupod na yung direction sa current na to. Dapat ang I1, 1 milliampere. Kaya mo man ang direction sa current. Ano biya ka, sir? Like, for example, ingon ka, sir, ang electron ang mag-produce sa current. Dapat parihag direction ang electron ug ang current. Kaya siya man ang mag-produce. Okay, di ba? So if we are going to consider ang electron na mag-produce sa current, so for I1, kung padulong dito ang electrons left to right, dapat ang current na to is positive dapat, 1 milliampere. Okay, syempre mo man ang direction sa current. Tama ang direction sa current. Okay, so this is the convention that we will be using all throughout sa discussion ug sa future nga mga books nga inyong pangbasahon. Muna siya ang convention nga ginagamit. Though electrons ang mag-produce sa current, okay, so consider nga ang positive net charge ang atong lantawon. Positive ang keyword ani. So electron kay negative man siya. Okay, so ang positive nga direction. So wala hunaon na lang ninyo nga ang proton ang mag-produce sa current. Pero kabalo mo nga electron ang mag-produce sa current. But for calculation purposes, for calculation references from this book o sa tanang mga books nga iyong makitaan, most nga ginagamit gyud is this one. Ang positive nga ang movement sa proton ang lantawon or ang positive net charge ang lantawon. Okay, so kung ang electrons padulong from left to right, so ang atong convention, though in practical application, ang flow gud sa electrons, ang flow gud sa electricity is from left to right. Ana man gud siya. Tama man gud na. From left to right gud na siya kay electrons man mag-produce. But in the convention, again, akong i-highlight, ang convention is ang net positive charge atong lantawon. So, kung ang electrons is moving in this problem alone, kung ang electrons is moving from left to right, so what is I1? Dapat negative 1 milliampere atong itubag. Kay we are looking into the net positive charge sa atong system. Naka ninyo? I hope though libog siya nga concept, but maugid na siya ang convention. Dili na nato na siya lalison kay tanang books mao na siya ginagamit. Basta inyo lang i-remember is ang nagproduce sa current is ang movement sa electrons, dili ang movement sa protons. But for calculation purposes, we will be looking at the net positive charge sa atong system in identifying the flow of our current. So kung maingon ang problem, the electrons are moving from left to right, then I1 is negative 1 milliampere. So I2 is, diba, kung padulong dito ang tanang mga current, ang mga electrons, so ang mga protons or ang holes nga iyang gibiling padulong sa opposite direction. So diri padulong ang positive nga charges. So again, we will be looking sa positive nga charges. So I2 should be 1 milliampere. Kuha ninyo? Questions or galibog ba? Or I hope nga na-discuss na ko
Galibog, sir.
tarong. Ha? Nalibog? Ayaw lang ng tawa ang basta opposite sa electrons ang inyong current. Okay. Muna siya ang calculation. In practical sense, sa nahitabo gid sa real world, kung asa ang movement sa atong electrons, dito pod atong current. Ayun na siya lalisa. But in calculation, as long as makita ra gid ninyo, kana bitong later on sa atong mga discussion, makita ra ninyo ay di mo gid siya mag-matter, no? Basta consistent lang ka sa imong direction sa current nga positive charges ang atong lantawon in terms of current considerations, then everything will be okay. Everything will be consistent. So mora na siya point dira. So kung maingon ta nga okay, let's look at the positive charge sa atong positive charge in producing the current, then mao na siya ang direction sa current. Kana lang sa for now atong gamiton. So kung ang electrons which is negative, padulong siya from left to right. So kung kani iyang arrow diri, kana iyang arrow, it means that negative na siya nga current. So that would be negative 1 milliampere. Kaya ang atong i-consider is ang positive charge. So padulong siya sa right to left. Mao ni ang I2. Okay? So kung maingon ko, wala na siya lang example, no? So maingon ko given, lain example. Okay. So ang movement sa electron kay from right to left. Okay. This is I1. Mo produce siya og 3 milliampere. Okay. So unsa ang current nga 3 milliampere diri nga padulong ani direction, din siya wala siya. Usay I2, electrons kay mo produce siya og 3 milliampere pa from right to left. Unsa man? So I1 is pila I1?
Positive.
Electrons na siya. Electrons ang I1, left, right to left.
Positive 3.
So, negative 3, di ba?
Negative 3, sir.
Okay, electrons man na siya, ang I1. Kang atong lantawon is ang
Positive.
proton. Okay. So, ang I2 nato is 3 milliampere. Okay? Nakuha ninyo? So, basta electrons nga movement, negative na niya siya. Okay, negative na siya ang current. Pero kung opposite ana niya, inyo lang i-reverse ang sign. Okay? Ana lang ang concept. Okay ra? Nakuha? Nakuha ninyo? Or wala?
Yes, sir.
Sa man?
Wala, sir.
By chance lang nasa, sir.
Unsa? Sorry. Wala na akong dungog.
Like kung ang I2 ang example sa concert 3 milliampere, ikaw na pud namo negative na pud i-change na pud namo ang sign.
O, is-change nyo ang sign. Basta, says for example, maingon ko nga, sige, ato, balik ta sa example ha. What if ang electron is moving right to left? Right to left. Okay. So, right to left. Aha man ang right to left. Unsa ang arrow na to? Aha padulong ang arrowhead. Diba, Ana? Diba? Tama ko?
Sir.
Tama
Yes,
ba?
sir.
Or dili?
Karon de, sir.
Balik taron. Right to left man.
Tama, sir.
Right to left. Kuha?
Sakto, sir.
Tama.
Di ba right man ni, tapos left man ni.
Oh, yes, sir.
So, right to left. So, what if ang current na produce ani niya sa electron is negative 3 ampere? Muni siya imong I1. Electrons ni ang nakaproduce sa electrons. Negative 3 ampere. So, unsa ang current nga padulong sa right to left? Unsay current nga
Sir,
padulong sa right to left? Di man gawas ang arrowhead.
positive.
Wait, yung gawas ang arrowhead. Hindi siya. Hindi na lang na to i-automatic. Hindi siya magawas. Okay? So, kung right to left, or left to right, mahimong 3 ampere. Kuha ninyo?
Oh, sir, nakuha.
Nakuha ninyo. So, what if ang problem kay ang protons ang net dili lang ta magamit og protons. So, ang net ang net charge, net positive charge kay moving from left to right. Nakaproduce siya og 3 ampere. Pila ning I1?
Negative 3.
Negative.
Pila answer?
Positive.
Na. Kaya dili naman siya electrons.
Negative,
Dili
sir.
naman electrons ang nag-produce of 3 amps. Ang net positive charge naman.
Positive.
So, 3 ampere na. So, ang pagpadulong didra, ang right to left, pila man ang right to left?
Negative.
Negative 3 amps. Okay, so depende kung kinsa ang nag-produce sa problem. Basig maglibog mo ba? Basig inyong automatic na dayon pag electrons, negative
Sir.
na siya. Dili tanaw na yung problem. Sige, question. Last question before ta mag-end. Last question before ta mag-end.
Mag-base ra demi sa question na sir, no?
Yes, mag-base mo kung unsa gi-declare sa question. Kung mayingon ang question nga electrons ang nag-move, so mo to nga i-reverse ninyo ang sana siya ang sign. Pero kung mayingon siya net positive charge na gani, ayun na i-reverse mo na siya. Kay atong lang tawon di ba kay ang net positive charge. So kana lang gyud ayun na libogan yung self. Net positive charge sa maglantaw. Okay? Bahalag kabalutang nga electrons magid mag-produce. Pero just leave it as it is. Later inyo na siyang ma-realize nga ay wala naman dai siya sense nga ako pa din siya i-consider no kay as long as constant ra ko nga tanan net positive charge kay positive na siya, your calculation is definitely same ra og answer. Okay? So dili mag-uol, pareha ra gyud og final answer ana niya. But don't forget kana lang gyud nga electrons ang mag-produce sa current. Okay? So I think that would be all for today. Kay 12:06 na. So I will stop the recording now. I will be posting this so that you would be able to review the discussion we have today. And before we go, I just want to have your feedback kung okay ra ba atong discussion and okay ra ba sa inyo nga inganiun ra nato. Kay mas
Okay ra, sir.
digest nato ang topic or you want the PowerPoint nga presentation nga pag-discuss?
Ingani ra, sir.
Sir.
Mas
Kaya
okay
kayo,
mo
sir.
ani? Okay. So I hope masabtan na nato tanan no ang atong kuan and we will try our very best to discuss everything in detailed format para mas masabtan ninyo ang flow and why is it that the situation is like this and like that and why do we need to consider this and why we need to consider that. Okay, so if you don't have any questions at all, so let's call it a day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget like and subscribe. Don't forget to to fill in your attendance. Okay. So ayaw kalimot. Then I might be able to post some activities maybe tomorrow if dili ko mabisi today. I will be able to post some activities and some of examples that you need to understand for you to be able, or maybe I would I'll just post some additional instructions for you sa atong Google Classroom. So just keep posted. Okay, so I think that would be all for today. And if you want to read in advance, the material is already available sa atong Google Classroom. Feel free to study, watch more videos, and read more references regarding this one. It would really help you a lot if you will read in advance. Bahalag di pa mo kasabot, at least na-scan na sa inyong brain, and when the time I will be discussing it, you will just say, okay, mo na itong pasabot adto nga portion sa katong akong gibasa. Okay, so I think that would be all for today. If you don't have any questions, then keep safe and let's call it a day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Salamat,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Ontoni arigatou gozaimasu.